Hello and welcome to the Weirder Hings podcast. I'm Michael McCann, and joining me this week as always is the immaculately coiffed Innes Smith.
Hello. That's very kind of you.
Thanks very much.
You're not so bad yourself, darling.
Oh, cheers. Innes, did you know that we are nominated for a British Podcast Award?
No way.
We are. But the listeners who listen to this podcast need to vote for us in order for us to win.
Alright, okay.
Right, so what we need people to do is we need them to go to the BritishPodcastingAwards.com, click vote,
right.
Type in weirder things because that's what they think the podcast is called, even though it isn't.
Alright.
And then vote for us, and then we could win an amazing award. So we need people to do that.
Yeah.
And that would be good if they did. But you're also listening to us on the UK Paranormal Radio Network.
That's right.
As well. So if you like the podcast, you can listen to us live there, or you can download us at British UK Podcasting, UK Podcast Podbean.com or something like that. So yeah, just thought I'd get on all that in there.
I was just about to say you're on fire, Michael, but you kind of dropped it towards the end.
Well, it's not as if I forgot the name of the podcast or the network name.
That's true.
So yeah,
that's good.
So how are you? Are you alright?
I'm alright. You know, right. I mean, we could grumble, but who's listening?
Exactly, just people. Yeah.
How are you?
Me, I'm alright.
There you go.
Fine.
That's as much.
Just okay.
That's as much you're going to get out of us.
Yeah.
It's not about us, though, is it?
It's not. It's really about
weirder things.
Weirder things and the weird things that are happening. So this week, what we're going to do, we're going to delve back into the case files of the SSPR to find out some live.
Live?
Well, no live. Are they live investigations, or
no.
are they not?
Well,
are they done with investigations?
Well, our involvement has ended.
Right, probably for the best. Before we do it on the podcast, I'd say.
Yes.
I don't mean probably for the best in general.
Yeah.
That'd be unkind.
I understand.
Yeah.
I do know what it sounded like.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Right. So we're going to look at some of those.
It's like some quasi-legal term.
Yeah, because the thing is, you
can't discuss things when they're ongoing.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be unwise.
Yes,
to... Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Right.
I know where you're going with that.
But it's good to look at these because you can't just read about these cases in a book or online or anything like that. Only you have them in your case files.
It's true.
This is the real life Scottish X-Files that we've got here.
That's it.
And you're the Fox Mulder of this operation.
Well, I wouldn't. No, maybe not. I don't know.
Maybe a Scully.
I don't know. Was there somebody who was mopping up?
Who was mopping up?
Paranormal mop cleaner. A cleaner.
Yeah,
anyway,
the big guy that cleans at the FBI offices.
That's it. Yeah. So this is the Scottish Society for Psychical Research. So these are investigations that I either I was case coordinator at the time, so I certainly was.
Fancy title. That's a fancy title.
Yeah.
You just.
So I was involved in as much of either speaking to the client for all of the case, or certainly one of them sort of spoke with the client on the phone, but dispatched other investigators who did the investigating on site, in situ. So yeah, I think the cases that I've selected, we're diving deep, we're getting heavy, man. This is heavy topic. But basically we have to hold up our hands, and as paranormal investigators, if you are, I don't know whether or not you are a paranormal investigator, if you are, or if you're interested in it, then we need to have an open and honest discussion about the limitations of paranormal investigating, but it's in terms of gathering evidence, but also the limitations that we as investigators have in terms of certain competencies. How about that?
Yeah, okay.
Certain competencies and what we might be qualified, and I use that word deliberately, to make pronouncements upon, and whether or not it's possible at any point to say something is definitely paranormal. What you will often find when investigating or communicating with members of the public is that there may be, and I'll use the term vaguely, but you can kind of guess where this is going. There may be other issues with health.
Yes. I mean, we've spoken about this.
Yeah, we have spoken about previously, and it's essentially, we all might be out of our depths when we're dealing with clients that may have other issues other than paranormal, or at least if you imagine sort of the Venn diagram, so the two circles that are overlapping, if you don't believe in the paranormal, there is no other circle. There's not a paranormal circle. But when you have essentially issues that may be due to mental health or psychosis or some kind of lack or sort of a different perspective on reality, let's just put it like that, and a different perspective of reality, which the medical establishment may have made a diagnosis. This is the thing: is if you often think to yourself, what would happen to everyone that might be talking about these experiences that happen to them? What if they'd spoken to a GP or a psychiatrist first, as opposed to a paranormal investigator?
Yes.
How many times would these people be diagnosed with having some kind of psychosis or suffering from hallucinations?
Yeah, and how often would a doctor go, oh, what you need is a paranormal investigator, not a doctor?
Yeah, exactly. Well, do you know what? The funny old thing is I have heard, certainly anecdotally, that does happen.
Really?
But, yeah, it does, yeah. In terms of some people essentially have gone through the system for years,
right?
And eventually somebody's like, well, this presents like a case of some like ridiculous
exorcism.
Yeah,
you need an exorcist.
Yeah, and then fun enough they'll get one, and then it's all sorted, and they go, oh, right, okay then. So
it does happen.
It does happen. One of the sort of the preeminent figures in this field, what you would call it, spirit release, he's a retired psychiatrist called Alan Sanderson.
Right.
And basically his little personal journey was, he was a psychiatrist within the system, and somebody was presenting like it was a possession, like the, and he thought, well, I'm just going to go along with this.
Right.
Why is this so amusing to you, Michael?
I'm getting a flash of something in my head. I can just imagine somebody going to a doctor, right, and getting a prostate exam, and then the doctor then taking the gloves off, going, "No, what you need is just a paranormal investigator."
Yeah.
And just like putting the gloves in the bin.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the good news is we do know your prostate is swollen.
Yeah.
The bad news,
it's haunted.
It's haunted.
You've got a haunted prostate.
A haunted prostate. So,
and that's why I was laughing, because I was just getting that visual as you were talking. Sorry.
Okay, that's fair enough. Listen, it's best you get that out now, before we move on to specifics.
Give people a laugh before we get to
the serious stuff. But yeah, so it's just the funny old thing is the other argument, the other side of the debate is out there. There are medical practitioners that occasionally throw up their hands and say, well, the sort of the Western, what you might say, reductionist, materialist model of medicine, we can't explain it, we can't fix it, we've thrown all the drugs and all the treatments at it, it's not working. Let's give this weird woo a try. Let's get the shaman in, let's get the mystic fruity person in, and it works.
I always like the ones where people go to the doctors with things and then they're like, oh, we've just like taking an implant out your neck or something like that.
Oh, you like the UFO stuff?
I like the UFO stuff. Yeah, that's kind of what I like people, and the doctors maybe go, no, you're having an episode, but then they pull a wee bit of metal, a wee bit of shrapnel out of somewhere, and they can't explain it. So I like that stuff.
Yeah, maybe this might even be a subject for another podcast, but just like weird medicine.
Yeah, medicine's probably quite good. Yeah,
weirder medicine. Lots of. Have you heard of Morgellons?
No.
Morgellons. Well, this is a sort of oh God, this even goes to the almost like the philosophy of medicine,
right?
In terms of what makes. There are some people, for example, that argue that syndromes are arbitrary, because essentially a syndrome is what you've done is you've corralled a group of symptoms and you say, well, that's what that is.
Yeah.
And one of the clues or indicators that medicine or diagnosis might be cultural is that you can go to different parts of the world, and some countries have some diseases and other countries don't. Yeah. And certainly as medicine advances, some medical problems disappear and other ones. I mean, for example, I think it quite amusing that nostalgia used to be a mental illness.
Really?
Yeah, nostalgia.
Yeah.
We talk about people get nostalgia, but nostalgia used to be sort of mentioned in the same breath as like melancholy, like depression.
Right, okay.
So nostalgia was
you've got a bad case of nostalgia.
Yeah, you're really just missing and of course nostalgia is essentially a part of depression, because people who are depressed, they often keep harkening back to a better life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they go, oh, it was much better in the past, and go, oh, that person's got nostalgia. But it used to be a specific diagnosis.
Right.
You know, you walk away from your little Victorian doctor with a prescription for, you know, all the drugs. Because back then you probably could buy yourself like heroin and morphine and opium and cocaine and everything. You could take all the drugs for all your problems. But no, nostalgia was a medical diagnosis.
It's interesting because here, I don't know if you've been to the doctor recently, but if you go to a doctor here and say, I think I have this, then they'll just ignore you because you're not a doctor, and they'll say, well, if you think you have that, then you've been looking at the symptoms of it and giving yourself a prognosis. I'm the doctor, I'm the one who needs to find the symptoms in order so doctors won't listen if you think you have, which is kind of strange. I was chatting to
GPs years ago, and they were saying that even back then, like 10, 15 years ago, even when the internet was young,
WebMD,
that as soon as people could like search for things on the internet, as they were essentially self-diagnosing, and the problem certainly with each passing year is the amount of information out there. So often you get patients rocking up and not only self-diagnosing but blabbing on and on about a condition or an illness that they might not even have heard of. Because it's a really rare disease, and it's the kind of thing they have to like go back to their own textbooks and go, what is this, what they're on about? Well, I think I found out that I've got Karsbob's syndrome. And they're like, what? Karsbob's? Who? What?
No one's had that for 500 years.
And it's like, well, I think you find I'm part of Karsbob syndrome sufferers.com, and we've got etc, etc. Anyway, that's me now mocking quite literally the afflicted, which is not what I came to do. But it's just to raise this sort of issue that there is this discussion and debate about the sort of arbitrary nature of medicalising the human condition, that we decide that certain symptoms, certain problems it's this syndrome and therefore it requires this treatment, etc, etc. Whereas there is this large, I mean, especially when you look at the research, I'm quite interested. I think, God, I'm going to pull this name out my bum. John Horgan, he's a science writer in America, but he wrote quite a lot of interesting books basically about the limitations of science, and one of his essays or chapters was about medical science, and it was just, there is actually a tremendous amount of heavily peer-reviewed and very much replicated, large studies with statistical heavy significance that actually studies the efficacy of medicine itself and different treatments. So it's always, medicine is, because it is evidence-based, it's always examining how good is its own evidence, what actually works, and comes up with really interesting and surprising conclusions. Basically, it's just that you would expect certain treatments because they're punted by the medical establishment to be so much better than other ones, but often many treatments are much of a muchness. And of course, the in a sense, what the greatest problem, and this ties us back maybe to the subject at hand, the biggest problem or area of illness or human suffering that medicine struggles with the most is mental illness, mental health. It is the hardest to treat. It's really, really hard. And of course, the reason is because we're in the realm of the mind.
Yes.
And it's almost like the brain is the method by which the brain can cure itself, but if it's, you know what I mean? So it's that kind of catch-22 situation that the only thing that can help your brain get better is your brain, but if it's not in a good way, then how's that going to work, kind of thing. Obviously, drugs can help, but generally speaking, anyway, my point is that the studies, they're all much of a muchness, and none of them are really that effective. But the amusing thing is they found out that the thing that really made a difference was the enthusiasm of therapists. That basically the most recently qualified psychiatrists were far better at their job than the ones with more experience, and they reckon that was because that patients responded most to enthusiasm.
Really?
i.e. when you've been doing the job for ages,
Yeah,
you know, well, when you do know, you know that it's people mostly have no hope. Right. and you're wasting your time,
including yourself.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh god, the human nature, the endless suffering.
Yeah.
Okay, so when somebody sits opposite you and you're really experienced, so you've seen it all before, you're just like, oh well, you've probably got no chance. But the thing is the patient picks up on that.
Yeah.
They're like,
if your doctor is burnt out by it, then
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's almost like it's like
so if you go to a doctor, oh my god, you've got depression, and they're like, oh, thank God.
yeah, it's just like, when you sit opposite somebody who goes, yeah, we can really do something here.
Yeah.
They go, oh yeah,
all right, I'm going to be okay. Yeah, I'm going to be okay. But if you're
fine.
sitting with a guy who's like, oh god, it's just
which sort of raises lots of really interesting, ideas that maybe like doctors and maybe medics basically retire them early.
Yeah, maybe because I was like,
to
give you an example. I went to my
all that
doctor.
training.
Yeah, my doctor was like, I've had them my whole life, right? So he's probably, I don't know what age he is now, but he's not as young as he used to be. But I went to see him recently, and I said, oh, I think I've got a sting or whatever, and he was just like, and his response was, so, like, what difference does it make?
Yeah.
Essentially was his response.
Yeah.
Like, and he's like, but if you do have it, like, he's like, what does it matter? Is it really going to affect your life? And I'm like, yes. Like, but if I went to another doctor, they might have been, alright, okay, we can do something about that, whatever. But he's just like, who cares? We're all going to die. We're all going to the void anyway, so you may as well just live with it.
Yeah, it just seems to be counterintuitive.
Yeah.
That you would think between these two propositions, experience and enthusiasm, what's more precious in a medical or therapeutic setting? And most people go, oh my god, well, experience.
Yeah.
The more experience and knowledge you have, but actually no enthusiasm.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you just don't want, otherwise you could just have like a spaniel sitting opposite with you wearing a white coat.
Yeah.
Just really pleased to see you.
Yeah.
But actually that might work just as well.
Yeah, it could be therapy dogs, yeah.
Just pat the wee dogs, because they're always keen to see you.
Yeah, and just be like, I feel so much better now. If it is mental health you've got, just get a wee cuddle off a dog, could be fine.
But that was quite a sort of a diversion there.
Yeah, there was nothing paranormal about that.
Nothing. Well, do you know what?
But it's an important subject, so
it wasn't. Well, do you know what? It wasn't, because essentially what we're saying is that medicine quite likes to get its tendrils into all areas of human experience, and there's even a word for it, which is medicalizing.
Yeah.
So medicalizing human experience. So the issue is that odd thing that you might wake up in the middle of the night and see the floating head of Pumpkin Doom at the bottom of your bed, laughing away, and if you toss a coin and go and see a paranormal investigator first, they'll go, oh my god, that's a ghost, let's set up cameras, etc, etc.
Yeah.
But if you think, and if you go to your GP, you'll likely get a brain scan and or medication
poked with something.
Yeah, and the weird, well, I'm saying it's weird, maybe it is, maybe it's not, maybe it's just exactly the way it should be, but as soon as a client confesses that they have received a diagnosis, then essentially the ethical point of view is you cannot, nor should you ever contradict that medical diagnosis, because you're not, as a paranormal investigator, unless you actually are like a psychiatrist or a GP, then it's not your area of expertise or knowledge. And even if it was, you're not that person's GP or psychiatrist, so it would still be wrong to like say, I've got a different opinion on this. It's ethical.
So basically, if you're listening to this and you're a paranormal investigator, you have a duty of care
Yes,
That's what you're
absolutely.
saying to the-
Yes,
to the person.
you have to be ethical.
Yeah. If you're going into just a haunted building and there's nobody in it, knock yourself out. But
Go-
if it's a, if
go
it's
crazy.
a residence, so you're dealing with a client or a person,
Yeah,
you need to be careful.
yeah.
Is what you're saying. You have a duty to care to that
You
person.
absolutely do. You absolutely do.
Whether they have a mental health condition or not.
No, exactly, and this is the thing, and it's been a sort of a long, slow learning curve for myself. But the way I kind of deal with it is because a lot of clients they're phoning you up, and what they're doing is they're asking for validation.
Yeah.
They want to be believed. They want you to say that the stuff that they're telling you is true and it happened, and you've got the answers, and here it is, and you wave the magic wand and it all stops. And whereas I can't promise that I can wave any magic wand. So that's my first thing is to deal with people's expectations of what you do or what you can deliver. But the other thing as well is it's almost like just to put my cards on the table and say it's not my place to I can neither confirm nor deny any of your experiences. And I think that's the way I deal with it. And the sort of the spiel would be I can neither confirm nor deny your experiences, and certainly if you're speaking to somebody on the other end of a telephone, even before you meet them, you're just saying, well, look, you know, how could I anyway? How could I validate anything you have to say, and or how could I deny it? But the other thing is you say, well, look, I believe that the paranormal, because this is true, I do personally believe that the paranormal can happen, but just because it can happen doesn't mean it does. And that's something to get people to think about, because once you have one paranormal experience that you might not be able to explain, then you're much more likely to interpret all other weird and, you know, even ambiguous events as being paranormal. and once you start to have that sort of that inbuilt bias or expectation, then what might just be a very small and not alarming mystery, once you mix that in with trepidation, fear of the unknown, and somebody can believe that all hell is breaking loose, you know, literally. And then when you add in the added joy of freewheeling mediums that make somewhat alarming pronouncements that they have portals. You've got a bad dose of the portals.
Where did that mirror come from? No, there's something came through your mirror.
And just all that kind of stuff, and you're just like, you know what? That's not necessarily helpful.
Yeah, no, not
just
at all.
not necessarily helpful.
Do you think there's a question, right? See, like, I'm not technically a paranormal investigator, right? People don't call me up and ask me to go investigate the paranormal for them, but
you'd be a photographic paranormal consultant. How about that?
Yeah, that's quite good. I like that title. Yeah. But occasionally people, you know have an interest in the subject, or they've maybe heard the podcast and they'll come up and they'll tell me things, and I've made documentaries in the past on the subject and stuff. But we've all, anybody who's in this area of interest has met someone, they've had a conversation with someone at some point, when on leaving the conversation you think to yourself, something's not right there with that person, you know? They've obviously got some sort of mental health issue, right? You can just tell, right? But do you think there's people out there, psychics or whatever, who just kind of ignore that, who just go, right, this person obviously has, but I'm just going to go with it anyway, I'm just going to go along with it and just continue doing what I'm doing?
I think that has to be true. It just simply through speaking with the clients that I often speak with. I think often anxiety and loneliness can be an issue, and for me, much of my advice I would term as being practical.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to the paranormal things they're saying, but I often think that the paranormal is an indicator or a sign that something else is not quite right with their lives, and they can take practical steps to deal with that. And once they deal with that, then the paranormal issue is that's.
I think it's easier. It's easier for you as well, though, because you don't take any financial reward.
Yeah, that's it. We don't charge, nor would we charge. I think the people that do charge for it is they put themselves. I think they put themselves in a very difficult kind of like. It's almost like your statutory consumer rights and the Consumer Rights Act and all this kind of stuff is just like, what are you charging for?
Yeah,
can you guarantee your work?
So they feel that maybe they need to deliver upon a product, an end product, in order to be like, I earned the money that you're going to pay me at the end of this.
Yep.
And maybe just to hell with
ethics. Ethics.
For lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Yeah, alright, you think you've got a ghost? Like, I know you might have a mental health issue, but I'm just going to say, alright, you've got a ghost because at the end of it you're going to give me 50 quid.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also there's the issue that they're not that cynical, they're actually just as, whether or not somebody may or may not be deluded, but
if they're willing to pay.
But a medium might also be deluded.
Okay. Yeah. So it might be a two-way street.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got one person imagining stuff, paying money to another person that's imagining stuff, and nothing is being helped apart from one person's bank balance to the detriment of another's.
Yeah.
Well, that was quite grim, wasn't it?
That was really super grim. Well, we get on with looking at this case.
Yeah, let's go.
That's why people really tuned in.
I know, that was a big long preamble, but it was interesting.
It was, it
was like the moral maze, wasn't it?
I think sometimes this issue needs to be addressed, though, because there is a correlation between people experiencing the paranormal and mental health issues.
Right, so the first case I'm going to talk about is, it's interesting because the case features a lot of quite dramatic and sort of types of paranormal phenomena. It's interesting because the client themselves is a psychiatric nurse.
Oh, right, okay.
Who was suffering from a psychiatric illness, and the case basically stopped because the person became too ill to continue. And also ethically, from our point of view, it's just like, well, look, this is now a situation that I don't think we ethically can continue once we know the extent of this person's illness here. Even though the person even though the person is it's almost like, well, it's you think, oh well, the person's a psychiatric nurse, so, but then you think, well, there's no reason why people that work within medicine can't become ill. Yeah,
I was to kind of go down a quick cul-de-sac here, but I was speaking to someone who used to be a photographer. They were a therapeutic artist, or what's that called when they do the art that helps people?
Art therapy.
They were an art therapist, but in order to become an art therapist, you basically need to go through a controlled breakdown, basically.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You yourself, in order, it's just because you're going to be dealing with like terrible subject matter a lot of the time, so you need to be able to cope with that. So they kind of deconstruct you as a person and then rebuild you. And quite a few people who do that go through like breakdowns and all that kind of stuff. So I'm wondering if it's a similar deal with people who do like psychiatric nursing and stuff like that, where they need to go through this intense kind of experience to kind of see it for themselves, so they're able to kind of treat it.
People that train as psychoanalysts psychoanalyse themselves.
Right.
But I think people that certainly are psychiatrists or psychiatric nurses, that's not part of their training.
No.
Although I think it might be a stereotypical thing to say, but I think we kind of know it's probably true, whether or not this has ever been scientifically tested or not. But people that are attracted to or interested in psychology often have psychological issues or problems themselves.
Yes.
So if you wanted to take a random sample of psychology students, or people working within those, it's just like...
It's like people who help treat addicts, but they've often been addicts themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. But I don't know, that's an interesting... That's something you could test, couldn't you? Just compared to other departments. If there are greater incidences of mental health issues within psychology students, and it's because that's why they're interested in the first place. Because, or the other thing though is, which often happens, people that end up studying psychology, is they'll have somebody in their family.
Right.
That might have a mental health issue or condition, and that's why they're interested.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm going to get this is like the biggest, longest preamble ever. So anyway, and the other thing about this case is it's complicated as well because there are kids. So this has been anonymised. So these names are made up. Okay.
Right, okay.
So if this name has been made up and coincidentally this person actually does exist, I'm not talking about that person either. Because it's a made up name. You know what I mean? So Mrs. Joanne Kenny lives with her two daughters, Amy Kenny, who's 20, and Catherine Kenny, who's 11. She's separated from her husband. She has lived in her current property for almost 13 years. Approximately 15 to 18 months ago, strange things began to happen in the property. In Mrs. Kenny's bedroom, Mrs. Kenny did not talk about her experiences as to not alarm her daughters. However, the phenomena moved from her bedroom to her eldest daughter's bedroom, and consequently her daughter became absolutely terrified in her room. It was at this stage that Mrs. Kenny sought intervention and also began to speculate as to the origin of the phenomena. So here's the phenomena, the sorts of things that would happen. And tapping and scratching. So approximately 18 months ago, tapping and scratching noises could be heard in Mrs. Kenny's bedroom, mainly on the bed headboard or the side of the wardrobe. She has described the noises as moving from one end of the room to another. On one occasion, two hat boxes lying at the foot of the bed were the focus for the noises. Mrs. Kenny thought she should just talk to it, and in her frustration said, "You can beep this out, Michael." Fuck off. The noises got louder. So, door opening, footsteps and breathing. Approximately 4 months ago, Amy Kenny was in her bedroom when she heard the door opening, footsteps approaching her bed and the sound of breathing. By this time, the scratching was also heard in this room, scratching under the bed. Psychokinesis. Approximately 5 to 6 weeks ago, Mrs. Kenny was re-entering her bedroom when she saw her alarm clock flying off the bedside cabinet. It landed on her bed with sufficient force and distance for her to reason that it wouldn't have fallen like that if it was acted upon by gravity alone. Also, electrical interference, psychokinesis on. There you go. Get a wee date here on Sunday, the 20th of May. Both daughters were in the living room playing with a camera when the telephone started to bleep like a smoke alarm and shake. Mrs. Kenny said that she had never heard a phone make a noise like that before. She said out loud, "Go away, you're not wanted," and it stopped. Sensation of presence. The client describes a very uncomfortable feeling in the property. Indeed, this not nice feeling prevents any family member from wanting to be in the property alone. So they're all staying together. So, intervention sought. So, Mrs. Kenny contacted a local minister, Mr. Derek Logan, or Reverend Derek Logan, 3 months ago. He met with Mrs. Kenny in her home and said that he was not qualified to deal with such matters, but nevertheless prayed with her in the living room. She has also contacted a psychic who recommended burning sage and putting a ring of salt around the flat. When Mrs. Kenny discussed this with her in-laws, she still has a good relationship with her husband's parents. They were not impressed. Furthermore, they warned her that she didn't know what they were dealing with. The psychic's advice was ignored. The client has only talked about her experiences with her own parents, her ex-partner's parents, and one friend. And she contacted the society through the Yellow Pages. Amazingly enough, we used to be in the Yellow Pages.
Really? That's good.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I always ask clients what they believe, because this is very important. I feel it's what they think is going on. It's very much front and centre of how they certainly interpret their experiences, but also you're not just dealing with what might be going on, you're dealing with what the client believes as well. So I always ask clients this. So generally the client is at a loss to explain what's happening in her own home, and indeed said, I've lived here 13 years in June, why now? So there you go. So it first started, 18 months ago, so 1.5 years ago, but she's She's lived in our house or flat for 13 years. The client wondered if anything particular happened 18 months ago to cause the phenomenon, and could only think of her eldest daughter's friend was killed in a car crash, and her daughter should have been in that car. The client also made the following remarks: that she would like an explanation, that she is at her wit's end, and there is always something different to get your attention. She is also very much concerned about her daughters, and said that her eldest daughter is terrified. So I called the client again to arrange a visit, and then this is the first meeting. So this is going back to 2007. So this is somebody else writing this now. She was waiting with her two daughters. Findings as follows: the family had stated they were all very tired, as the activity keeps them awake throughout the night. Most of the activity happens between 11:30 p.m. and 2 a.m, with most of the attention focusing on both the mother and her youngest daughter, Catherine. They went on to describe some of their experiences, which I list below. So, footsteps running up the hallway, which is laminate flooring, and footsteps entering into the room. Funny smell like sour fruit or meat. The alarm clock physically flying off the bedside table onto the bed. Temperature changes in the mother's bedroom. Cold. Electrical interference, their telephone bleeping. Bed shaking. The youngest daughter's bed shakes. Mother and the eldest daughter answering to Catherine's screaming and seeing the pillow move over her face by itself. Objects disappearing like Catherine's mobile phone. They are convinced that it's not their forgetfulness. Knocking noises on dressing tables in rooms and on living room doors. Hearing breathing noises close to their faces. The family was asked if there was anywhere in particular in the house that they don't like or experience things more frequently. They all replied that they did not like the bathroom. When asked why, they explained that they could not explain their feelings, but they all felt really bad about the bathroom, so much that they actually waited on each other whilst one other of them was using the toilet. And they said that they felt the sensation of being watched. The client then discussed, this is the thing, so we've already started off the case, and the client discussed their medical condition and suggested this may not look good under the circumstances she's reporting. She explained to us that she suffers from depression and is on medication for her condition, one of these medications being lithium, and if you know anything about lithium, that's usually for prescribed for bipolar or manic depression. She explained that before taking ill, she was a psychiatric nurse and understands some of the stigmas attached. So there you go. So what the investigators did is the clients gave the investigators permission to actually set up camera equipment to monitor activity in the home. So there was a second meeting, a second visit. So revisited the experience. So this is the investigators talking that they talked about the phenomena that the clients had discussed previously. Mrs. Kenny explained that they had been staying with her mother as they were afraid to stay in the house, so they weren't in the house. She also explained that her youngest was suffering really badly from a lack of sleep, which was affecting her schoolwork. And on occasions were actually being asked by the teachers if there were any problems. Mrs. Kenny explained that since her last visit she had experienced hearing creaking noises in the toilet, like feet moving slowly and shifting position on the floor. Once again, a strong feeling of being watched. She also talked about that lights were flickering on in the bathroom, but the lights hadn't been switched on at the time, so the light switch was off, but still the lights were flickering. She went on to explain that she had a visit from a community nurse, and that the community nurse was unsettled by what she experienced. Whilst the community nurse was there, the TV, which had not been on, started to creak really badly, as if somebody was pushing it back and forward.
So this is an independent witness.
This is an independent witness, and the investigator's next line is basically asked if it would be possible to speak to that independent witness, the community nurse, for a supporting statement. So anyway, the cameras were set up for a 2-week period, set up in the hallway of the house, up to the entry of the bathroom door for a period of 2 weeks. So it was explained basically that where the camera was going to be pointed. It said that because the camera would be in their home, they were consenting to it, is basically make sure they were clothed at all times.
Yeah.
Because
it's pointed at the bathroom as well. So
it was pointed. Yeah, not in the bathroom.
Right. Yeah.
But
But
yeah, exactly. So basically, no one
walking about in the buff.
No one walking about the buff. But anyway, the point was this camera was set up for 2 weeks, and then I've done this myself, not a whole 2 weeks, but the recording showed nothing. There was nothing unusual or inexplicable about the footage.
Right.
So even a full 2 week period, nothing. So anyway, there was a telephone call. So Mrs. Kenny called me to tell me that she'd met up with her neighbour from the flat above whilst waiting in a taxi. She said that she told the neighbour that she was about to ask was a bit strange, but she was really upset with the whole thing. She explained to her neighbour about the things going on in her flat, to be told that they too had experienced footsteps going up the hallway, but the lady mentioned that she sees a young lady in a long nightdress running up the hall and into her room. She explained that her husband was very uneasy about it and feels a sensation of someone close to his face and hears breathing. So this is the investigator. I asked Mrs. Kenny to inquire if they would speak with us, that we could report on their story. So this seems like corroborating witnesses again.
Yeah, sounds like.
Mrs. Kenny did ask, but was told that they didn't want to talk with anyone as they're trying to sell their flat. So really frustrating. So you're getting this corroborating witnesses being dangled in front of you, but but they're
what
not.
happened with the nurse one? Did she say no as well?
No progress. So there you go. So there was the third meeting. So this is investigators going out again. Strangely, before this meeting started, I was looking around to check what one of the other investigators was doing. So this is the investigator themselves. This is their own account. They experienced a very strong vibration coming from the couch. My immediate thoughts was that the other investigator was moving her leg up and down, but to my bewilderment, she was standing away from the couch. I didn't raise this with the family at the time. Now, what is interesting is even though the cameras didn't record anything, their presence within the flat seemed to have some kind of effect, because soon as the cameras went, things kicked off again. So there you go.
As often is the case.
Often is the case. So Mrs. Kenny stated that things got worse after the cameras went. Mrs. Kenny started by explaining a really terrifying experience she had around 1:10 in the morning. She was just falling to sleep. She experienced footsteps starting from the bathroom. She also heard a dragging sound along with the footsteps. She felt the noise entered her room and stopped just beside her bed. She said that she felt the bed sink slightly, almost as if something lay down beside her head to head, and next she felt like an arm going across her body. She was paralysed with fear and could not move. In tears she started to shout, "Go away, go away." This alerted her eldest daughter, who ran into her mother's room, and she also started to shout, "Go away." At this point, Mrs. Kenny felt as if she could move again and get out of bed. The girls hadn't heard anything up to this point, so this is classic kind of like sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
But although the client states that just falling to sleep.
Yeah.
So we can let the skeptics wrestle with that little chestnut. But the client is certainly talking about this as not have fallen asleep, and she has this experience. Another point prior to the event was basically Amy was awoken by Catherine screaming as her bed was vibrating on the floor. Amy confirmed that she actually saw the bed moving. So there's other experiences in this. About this one, Mrs. Kenny was awoken by a sharp pain in her big toe. She described that it felt like she had her big toe bitten, and then when she examined it, she saw was a red circle that looked like human teeth marks around her toe.
Whoa, never heard that one before.
There you go, bitten on the toe. Ouch. Also, lots of activity in the kitchen. Mrs. Kenny explains putting out 2 cups and saucers for tea for her and a friend, and when she turns around to fill them, the tea cups and saucers were moved. So basically nothing dramatic, but basically they just moved, for her to notice that it moved. There's lots of flickering lights, still more electrical interference, this time in the kitchen. But it only seems to happen when they're in the kitchen.
Right, okay.
So there you go.
It only seems to happen
when they're in the
them.
kitchen, Also footsteps running up the hall, repeating itself. It was discussed that Amy never really experiences anything like her mother and sister, but has heard footsteps and banging and has seen things physically move when no one is touching them. So that's interesting that one member of the family does experience some things, but isn't fully immersed in the experiences as the other two.
Focused on him.
Now, so a medium is then brought into the property. So this is a report by the investigator telling us what the medium said. So the investigator talks about their amazement that the medium picked up all of the activities that the family had been describing. So the purpose, the whole point about bringing a medium is you don't tell the medium nothing. Nothing.
Yeah,
so they know nothing. And then you just punt them into the space and then you get them to do their thing. So the investigator said that the medium went in and basically described everything. Everything that had happened was happening in the home without any prior knowledge of it. She spoke about the footsteps running up the hall. She mentioned that it was the footstep of a young female around 30. She was lost. She was looking for her family. She felt the presence of this female in the hallway and Mrs. Kenny's bedroom. She said she hears the words, "It's so long, nobody has come for me." So there you go. That's a nice cheery thing for a medium to say.
So it also kind of adds up with what the upstairs neighbours was saying.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. Yeah, the medium stated that there's a very strong feeling of depression. This young woman was manic depressive and had lots of problems. So this is interesting. So this is chiming in with what is also happening in the home. We moved from the bedroom to the next room, which was the bathroom. She immediately told me that she did not want to go into the bathroom. She had a very bad feeling. She said to me, so this is what the medium says, suicide has happened in there.
Yeah,
right.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay. Moving through the house to the next room, the kitchen, she explained that there was a lot of energy in this room. She told the family that they were experiencing lots of things move and lights flicker in this room. She stated that all the energy is at the back of the house where all three rooms discussed are situated. I then took the medium out of the front door to go upstairs in the direction of the neighbour's flat. She only went halfway. She told me she didn't want to go any further as she sees a man and she does not like it. Something not right here. Something bad has happened. So this is obviously a very cheery close. Yeah, cheery close. Closing down the meeting, so Mrs. Kenny explained that she had attempted, and this is where it gets very grim, she's attempted to commit suicide in the bathroom on several occasions, and on one of those occasions she had to be resuscitated as her heart was stopped. So what's interesting is that the medium is talking about a situation that could equally refer to this alleged spirit and the client themselves.
Yeah, she could be picking up on that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's quite sad.
Yeah, it's very sad. So the medium raised concern, felt that Mrs. Kenny was very open to the spirit world and was channeling energies, possibly feeling and experiencing these feelings of a 30-year-old female spirit. Jackie asked if the family would like her to ask the spirit move on, and they agreed. I'm sure they would have. Yeah. So there you go. So that was that meeting. So this is like a follow-up. And you can almost guess what happens here. But so Mrs. Kenny called and explained that they felt great in the house for the first time in months after the visit by the medium. But that feeling was short-lived. Approximately 3 to 4 hours. So there you go. So they're like, wow, amazing, this is fantastic. But then just 4 hours later, they started to hear noises, footsteps, and once again the bathroom was not a place they felt comfortable in. Mrs. Kenny had explained that most of the attention was shown to her youngest daughter Catherine, and unfortunately she was experiencing scratching in her legs that left physical marks. So also the client said she was hearing her name being called out on a regular basis. So basically what I'll, to sort of sum this up, that there was more telephone calls. There was an attempt to arrange another meeting, but the client's own health deteriorated, and we just thought, well, let's let the medical professionals deal with this one, and we'll see if we get any more contact, etc. And we did not.
Right. So that's a shame, because it did sound like it was a paranormal
Well, the
case.
thing is, when there is always the extent. This is where you're always interested, or there's always this constant debate as to what constitutes evidence, and there's just the mere fact that so many elements of that paranormal phenomena tick boxes in terms of this is not just the sorts of things that were experienced in the home, but even the order in which they were experienced. So you would even have to think, well, that's quite an extraordinary coincidence. Or did that... This is the one thing that was not asked, and I wish it was asked, but to what extent was this client interested in and knew about the paranormal? Because that's really important.
Yeah.
Because if this person
At the start, you never give us a year when this happened. Is that possible to give us that?
It was 2007, I think I said,
2007,
which is when it was,
okay.
2007. So basically, so this is, so yeah, there was a lot had happened in a short period of time, but this was all.
And this was this Glasgow as well? Was this?
I can say it was Glasgow.
Yeah. You don't need to go into explanation,
Yeah.
but it was Glasgow.
Glasgow. So yeah. So this is. So for me, it was all quite convincing.
Yeah.
Just, I'm sure many of our listeners will also nod their heads, say, I think it sounded convincing.
The thing for me is the neighbours upstairs who described something that quite similar.
Yeah. Although the other thing, which is probably quite typical as well, though, is this was corroboration that was not corroborated.
Yeah. Yeah.
So not only with the health visitor, not just with the neighbours. So with all these possibilities or opportunities to get supporting witnesses, etc. But no, it's interesting that one of the investigators themselves said that they experienced the same sort of vibration. I thought that was interesting. The only problem is though is how evidential that might be, considering that when somebody knows they're going into a haunted location.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's that level of expectancy, so it's kind of tough. But yeah, it's and when you listen to the details of the case, it's very difficult and it's very sad.
Yeah,
definitely. Because it seems to be that so much about the paranormal is this sort of transgression of boundaries, of sort of crossing boundaries, and it's even the fact that it seems to be this confusion or this sort of weird sort of liminal state between even the phenomena and the person themselves. It's hard to know whether the medium is describing the past or the present. Yes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And there's that kind of confusion, and that's and that in itself is quite a. It's quite a traditionally paranormal thing, you know.
Yeah, the thing with that as well, it's not necessarily evidence of spiritual activity, but it's actually a really good hit for the psychic that she got for that. Yeah. Which in itself is quite good. It's quite interesting. Yeah. And obviously it's very sad, but that is quite interesting in itself. Yeah. So that is so. I did. If that is what happened. Yeah. You know? So I did speak with that client. That was a couple of other investigators' cases. They brought out a medium, but it was just sad that wasn't necessarily resolved, and to look backwards and to have some sort of idea of it, because there is that. It's hard to separate the client's own personal circumstances with the paranormal phenomena which may be reflecting that, or even to some extent, let's just be mystic for a wee second, being powered by that. That even though the medium can come in and wave a magic wand, because the circumstances, the feelings and the mental conditions still remain, you're just going to bring that all back again. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like there's a flood, but you've not mended the pipes. Do you know what I mean? You can wheak away all the water, but if you've still not fixed the leak, then it's just going to come back again. Yeah. So one would hope
one would hope that person's circumstances and their mental health were in a much better place. I certainly hope so. I mean, it would be interesting to see even if that person could improve in another place. But the other flip side of that is I mean, this the thing as well, is just like, because this person was a psychiatric nurse.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to put your mystic fruity hat on, and if you're arguing that certain places and certain intense emotions create unpleasant, or for that matter, pleasant atmospheres, then maybe the worst person you can send somebody who is mentally unwell and psychic is a psychiatric hospital. That is like the worst.
Yeah, it's just going to be
the worst place you can send them. It's the worst place on earth. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's just like if I put my fruity mystic hat on, I would just think, if that argument, that truth is real, that the psychic realm, that these rules apply, etc., then you think then the last place you would send anybody who is mentally ill would be to spend time with other mentally ill people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or even sending a psychic to
that also I might have talked about this case before. I'm sure I probably have, but this was another account. This is the thing, we speak to quite a few psychiatric nurses. This was another nurse that was talking about her experiences when she worked in a psychiatric hospital, and one of the wards was haunted, and the amount of weird things, and there's certainly lots of reputation, lots of old Victorian crumbling asylums. Many of them have disappeared now. They've been demolished, etc., gone away.
Fancy modern flats.
Yeah, but the reputations that these places used to have, you know, for being spooky and haunted.
Yeah, I was thinking of one floor.
The Overlook Hotel.
Yes. But like that kind of thing, that's really hard to take it, like, because that's why they're always going to like former insane asylums and stuff like that, and like these programs where they go looking for ghosts, and they're always really super haunted and active and stuff like that. And it's always because of the stuff and the people that have been there as well.
Well, I think I mean, we're just in the realms of fruity speculation, but if there is one argument that intense human emotion seems to be a factor in hauntings, and what's more full of intense human emotion than like a hospital or a prison, and those places indeed have reputations for being haunted.
I would have thought, right? Do you want to make this a two-parter?
What time is it?
Because we've literally run out of time, and I just don't feel like we've even scratched the surface.
We've not. Shall we make this a two-part, and I'll talk about more the sort of the Venn diagram between abnormal and paranormal.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, because we're on a roll, so we may as well chuck another episode.
Okay, well, I can talk about another couple of cases really easily. Yeah.
Right, what we'll do is we'll wrap this one up now.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So that was what's turned into a two-parter.
That's fine, isn't it?
Yeah, so we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Or as we're actually just about to keep going. And
Just concentrate on the love and the light.
Yeah, and remember, email us, contact us on Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. Send us your own experiences, we love those.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next week for part 2.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye.